Big Ten battle, Matt Rule. And here's what I love about this game. His dream job, quote unquote, is the Penn State Nittany Lions job. Every time he gets a win, it's going to look better for the Penn State Nittany Lions or his agent to re-up another contract with the Nebraska Cornhuskers. This line opened up around 5.5, Joe. We're now sitting at some outlets over 7 points at -7.5 as a road favorite towards Nebraska. The total listed at 47.5. Nebraska on the road to take on P.J. Fleck, rowing the boat with the Minnesota Golden Gophers. What is the spread line for this game tonight, Joe?
Well, I think they call him what? Mini Mahomes, right? Dylan Raiola, the Nebraska quarterback. Yes. Well, he's going to be on full display here tonight in a primetime game. And it's interesting because not only him, but this entire Cornhuskers team, this line opened up at 5.5, Donnie. It has been bet up as high as -9 middle of the week. And we talked about this game on Monday, and I said we need to keep an eye on this one, and we need to keep an eye on the next one we're going to talk about with Miami and Louisville. But there is no doubt that the Matt Rule, that whole idea of every program he's been to, the third year is the year that they kick it into another gear. And yes, he played linebacker for Penn State. He's a Penn State alum. Everyone's talking about him. But it doesn't escape the fact, Donnie, that this would have been a perfect game in which the public is going to be like, wait a minute. What I mean, Minnesota at home with P.J. Fleck, like what is going on here? Well, what's going on here is clear, is that P.J. Fleck, this is not the old Minnesota teams, especially defensively, Donnie. You know why? Because he lost his stud defensive coordinator who, by the way, you'll be able to see tonight, Donnie, because you know where he's at? He's the University of Miami, #1 defense in the country. He's their defensive coordinator. They have no offense. They have absolutely no more defense, and that is why this line has moved where it is. Nebraska is the better team and should handle business here tonight.
From the Big Ten over to the ACC tonight, down in Miami Gardens, Florida here. That's going to be the Hurricanes taking on Louisville. Look at this line, Joe. Opened up 15.5 at some outlets. Now we're seeing that below 2 touchdowns. 13.5 is the prevailing line across many of the sports books. A total listed at 50.5. The number 2 Miami Hurricanes, fresh off of a bye, perfect season underway. The spread line for Louisville and Miami tonight, Joe, is what?
Well, it's funny because, again, when we talked about this on Monday, I said, Donnie, this line is 13.5, and I'm going to be very interested to see if the public gets involved, because we know the public is going to look at Louisville here and say, because we haven't seen either of these teams in a couple of weeks, right? So I wonder whether or not the public is not running to the window to lay 2 touchdowns with anybody here on a night. Plus, there's still that feeling of, wow, you know, waiting for Miami, that other shoe to drop there. Mario Cristobal, Mario. Yeah, I know. But the problem is the public and the tickets and the money have all been on Louisville this week, Donnie. And yet not once has this line moved. You know what that means? That means the line is frozen for a reason. It will not get the 14. There is plenty enough influential money in the marketplace keeping this exactly where it's going to be at kickoff, which is just under 2 touchdowns for the University of Miami.
Primetime game for Carson Beck, one of the leaders in the clubhouse to win the Heisman Trophy. We'll see what the Hurricanes do tonight in that game. But back to the Big Ten we go for a Saturday affair, 3 o'clock. Purdue and Northwestern. Now, why would we be looking at this game? Purdue's not that good. Northwestern actually just got a head coach fired in a massive upset at Happy Valley. Look at this look-ahead line, Joe. I saw some outlets as close to a touchdown. Ain't there anymore. -2.5 and -3s and a total of 46.5. Northwestern riding high and mighty at home against Purdue. What's the spread line for this one?
Well, and this is the one you got to ask yourself, Donnie, right? So what, are we looking at a absolute letdown spot here for the Wildcats, right? I mean, 20.5-point underdog against Penn State, and they pull the outright upset here. That's the big question here. I can tell you this, though. This Purdue team is a lot better than people give them credit for here. I think Coach Barry Odom and company here will have these guys ready to go. It would not shock me if just before kickoff, Donnie, this weekend, that this line begins to move a lot closer to Purdue than it does Northwestern. It is the ultimate of ultimate letdown spots here.
We love to tell you it's a Football Friday right here on the SportsGrid Network. This is the early line on Friday mornings. We have a lot of time, and we also have a lot of time to talk to some special people. Donnie Rightside, I'm not so special. Joe Raineri, he's not so special. You know who is special? It's Coach Terry Bowden on a Friday right here on the early line. Coach, love having you on with us.
Well, we got great football from 6 o'clock. I'm on Central Time. From 6 o'clock on here, we got great football till midnight and then all day tomorrow. Can't wait.
Now, Coach, you've been in some big games before, and I'm sure you saw your share of bad calls not go your way. You were in the building at Jordan Hare this weekend. Bad calls went against the Tigers here that could determine the outcome of the SEC. What happened?
Second game, Oklahoma, same thing happened to them. They lost by that score. It was amazing. Everything was Auburn. The way they played, they were stuffing Georgia. They were about to go up 17-10 with 1:30 seconds left. They don't get the call. It's turning. All of a sudden, the sideline goes quiet. The entire stadium goes quiet. The inspiration was taken out. They were deflated. Nothing at that point forward. Auburn could not do a thing. They were almost waiting for something bad to happen. That's what happens when you lose close ball games.
Oh, Coach,
I don't know pretty.
how it wasn't pretty, but I don't know how close this game in my neck of the woods is going to be at the Hard Rock Stadium tonight with Louisville and the U. It's 13.5, going 2-touchdown favorite for the U, and it's out of sight, out of mind because we haven't seen these two teams in a little bit of a while here. It feels like.
Well, it's going to be a great game. Louisville and Miami. It's the two top defenses in the conference. They both can score points, but Miami, but they have great defenses as well. The problem is Louisville has been inconsistent. They've had a turnover every game. In the game they lost against Virginia, they had 2 turnovers that went for defensive scores. That's their one loss. Miami is much more consistent. Louisville doesn't run the ball very well, but they must run it, or Reuben Bain and that Miami defense will be all over that quarterback. But I think this is a game where, Miami is 4-1 against the spread. Louisville is 1-4 against the spread. Miami at home. Miami's a much more consistent football team, better top to bottom. I've got Miami, and I'm going to take Miami to cover.
Coach Terry Bowden, no stranger, again, as we said, to big games and also being in big environments and coaching in big environments, sometimes coaching for a new job or just coaching for the job you have. I'd love to talk to you about this game, Nebraska and Minnesota. On the field, 7.5-point spread for the road team, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. But as we know, Penn State has a job open. Matt Rule said that could be his dream job. Talk to me about the distractions you have as a major level coach when you're worried about a football game and maybe a contract at the same time.
Well, hey, if you're Rule and you want to stop all the distractions, stop all the rumors, just lose this football game. They don't offer losing coaches. They offer winning coaches. So if they play exceptionally well, that means he's thinking about that Penn State job, and they should play exceptionally well. Nebraska right now is got one loss, a tough loss that they had in their game to Michigan. Minnesota's struggling. They've lost 3 games to conference teams. Minnesota cannot run the football, and Nebraska is playing better football. So right now, this is a game that really, if Nebraska will do their job, throw the running game in, because Minnesota gave up a 253 yards rushing to Purdue. So if Nebraska, and they will run the football, they will control the clock, and they will win the game. I'm sticking with Nebraska right now. We'll keep Rule's name in the Penn State discussions. And to be honest with you, he answered way too many questions. When you want to shut down an interview, just say, I'm not interested. He had 50 reasons why he loves Penn State in that interview, which says, man, that's way too long of an answer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got another really interesting one in the SEC, Coach. Georgia, one of the best run defenses. You just saw them in the country. But the problem is Ole Miss is not interested in running into the teeth of the Georgia defense. They'll have no problem throwing the ball. I think the revenge factor is overblown here. Styles make fights. Who wins this fight, Coach?
Well, I mean, for a lot of reasons, I think Georgia will win the fight. And I'll be honest with you, I was at the Ole Miss game last year. Ole Miss was a better football team. They were more talented. They were better than Georgia. That's not the case this year. Talent level goes to Georgia. But more importantly, it's at home. And this is the quarterback, Chambliss, this is his first real away game. He got a couple of mop-up snaps at Kentucky, but he's playing in one of the toughest environments. I think the atmosphere will affect Ole Miss. I'm not going to say intimidate. I'm going to say affect it because their stadium's not real big. The noise is completely different, and the intimidation factor at Georgia is much higher. Georgia is not going to lose 2 home games after winning 33 straight, 2 home games in 1 year. I've got Georgia playing great. I've got them at kind of a overwhelming Ole Miss at home to win this game.
Coach, we got a playoff elimination scenario, it feels like, coming up on 7:30 p.m. Saturday night. USC taking on Notre Dame is roughly a double-digit favorite. Also understand this. I want to get your ideas being a head coach. How do you prepare for a game knowing that weather and inclement weather is probably going to be there with some rain in the forecast between SC and Notre Dame?
Well, you can't worry about what you can't control. I think you do begin to say, okay, circle your best running plays, circle the pass plays that you can execute. Be careful about getting too much caught up in passing. But if it's not a steady rain, you qualify about 6 to 8 footballs for every game. So you can have a dry ball. Unless it's raining heavy, I've never had a problem. And if it's a wet field, the advantage goes to the offensive receivers, not the defensive backs, because they have to make decisions based on the offensive move. So I wouldn't worry about it unless you've got a steady rain. I worry more about how the other team plays right now. Southern Cal's got to find a way to score points against a very good Notre Dame team. Both these teams are geared up to win. Yeah. I mean, Notre Dame has only lost 2 teams to number 2 and number 4. USC has lost a walk-off field goal to Illinois. They're both geared to win. But I'm going to tell you, going to Notre Dame and playing Notre Dame at home, their defense is better. They're a little more consistent. I'm going with Notre Dame to beat Southern Cal here and cover the points.
I love it. A big-time weekend in college football. Big-time football Friday right on the SportsGrid Network. And each and every Friday, we get Coach Terry Bowden here to spill some of that knowledge that we need for those games tomorrow. Coach Terry Bowden, enjoy those football games. And once again, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, man.
The world is your oyster tonight, Joe Raineri. Where are we going for those pearls of wisdom? Whew, that sounded good.
Well, there's a trend here, Donnie. On Fridays, I usually go with one of these college football games. We gave you, of course, South Florida last week on a Friday. And tonight, I'm going to tell you under no certain terms, Nebraska is the play here tonight with Matt Rule, who has this unbelievable knack of taking struggling teams and programs and turning them around by year 3. Did it at Temple. He did it at Baylor, and guess what this year at Nebraska is? It's his 3rd year, and his team has been nothing but delivering here. Dominic Raiola, the quarterback, living up to all the hype, one of the better defenses as well that he has had in a very long time at Nebraska. Now, they're traveling to take on P.J. Fleck in Minnesota. Now, Minnesota is at home, Donnie, and I love this because I'm already seeing the line at around 7 now because the public is starting to get involved on a Friday going, you can't. How is it a home? Minnesota at home? They've always had a good defense. They always deliver in this spot. Yeah, right. But that was under a former defensive coordinator called Corey Heatherman. And guess where he is now? You'll see him tonight at Hard Rock Stadium because he's the defensive coordinator for the University of Miami. And what are we left with here for Minnesota? A terrible defense, Donnie. Give me Nebraska in a rout by double digits here tonight to get it done against Minnesota.
Every touchdown could help Matt Rule get more money in his contract, either from Nebraska and or from Penn State here.